Welcome, everyone, to the League of Biblical Mathematics. Today, I'm working on the fourth and last final edition of an area that must take note for its work and research when it comes to ancient mathematics, and that is Greek, the ancient Greeks, and their influence on mathematics and the surrounding areas that influenced them. And many of the books that they may have had influence in. Sorry about that. So, yeah, as I was saying, we talk about the Greeks and the influence that they have had over the world and the influence and what they were influenced by, such as the Greeks, such as the Egyptians, as well as the Babylonians. For the word I want to use, but for those who also refer to it as Egypt as Kemet. I prefer to use the word Kemet, but I know many of you may not be aware of that term. So I'm giving you a heads up that you'll see the word Egypt. You'll also hear me refer to it as Kemet, because Kemet is, according to my understanding, the original name of it before it was named Egypt by the Greeks. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm gonna try to get through this to you guys real quick. Hopefully I'll be able to get through it all. I gotta, head out. Let me go ahead and share my screen and see if we can get through this. I wish the audio would play for this so you guys can hear it, but a lot of times I know that it doesn't. And it's probably something I'm doing wrong. So with that being said, let me go ahead and look at this from the beginning. This, once again, as you guys know, it is Encyclopedia Britannica. I believe it's Encyclopedia Britannica, but this is definitely Encyclopedia. And it's Greek mathematics article by Christian Alati. The mathematics of the ancient Greeks is made of huge sorry, let me start that over again. The mathematics of ancient Greece made hugely significant contribution to the world through all the practical subjects, which depends on the intellectual basis from geometry to engineering, astronomy to design, influenced initially by the Egyptian Greek mathematicians who pushed push to make breakthroughs such as Pythagoras' theorem of the right angled triangles, and by focusing on the abstract, bring clarity and precision to age or old mathematical problems. Their solutions provide the fundamental mathematical building blocks that all the future mathematicians and scientists would build upright to the present day. The early influence birth of the Greek mathematics owes its impetus to the influence of some of its neighbors, especially Egypt. During the 26th dynasty of Egypt, circa 685 to 525 BCE, the ports of the Nile were open to Greek trade for the first time, and important Greeks such as Thales and Pythagoras visited Egypt, bringing with them new skills and knowledge. Iona, in addition to the Egyptian influence, was exposed to the culture and the ideas of Mesopotamia through its neighbors, the kingdom of Lydia. Some centuries later, during the Hellenistic period, Greek astronomy flourished there first after Alexander the Great conquered the East. The astronomical knowledge of Babylonians and Chaldeans culture became available to the Greek, who profited by exploiting it systematically. This led to my atlas, my place. This led to the advance of many Greek mathematical tools, such as the use of the numerical system with 60 as it is base, with which allows the Greeks to divide circles into 360 degrees, then use the 60 as an base of mathematical systems is not a minor issue. 60 is the number that is made divisions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, 15, 20, 30, 60. Cooker as well, which makes it easy to deal with the calculations involving fractions. The Egyptian influence in the Greek mathematics can also be noticed in the etymology of the Greek mathematical terms, Strabo, and the famous Greek geographer explains the origin of the word geometry, which literally means land measuring, as follows. Early achievements. How is it that the Greek managed to advance their mathematical knowledge to the point that it became surprising superior to the Egyptians? In civilization far older, as early as 3,500 BCE, Egyptians and also Babylonians' calculations were the finest in the world. Egyptians used their mathematical knowledge largely for engineering purposes without building the Great Pyramids and other breathtaking monuments would have been impossible. What the Greeks derived from Egypt, mathematics were mainly rules of thumb, visit specific application. Egyptians knew, for example, that the triangle without whose sides are in 3-4-5 ratio is a right triangle. This was because of this because in order to form a right angle, the practical minded Egyptians lended surveyors use as ropes divided into 12 parts, forming a triangle with 3 parts on one side, 4 parts on the other side. The 5 parts of the remaining side, the right triangle, was to be found where the 3 unit side joined the fourth unit side. This is very, very particular. This was a very particular method to form right angles. How Egyptians came up with this method is not recorded. Neither do we have Egyptian records on further analysis related to this issue. The Egyptians were too practical to be concerned with the analyzing. This is the detail. Apparently, their inherent their interests were no further than the practical applications of this method. A Greek native from Iona looked at this 3-4-5 triangle and saw it what nobody else seemingly to have noticed. His name was Pythagoras, and he stretched the 3-4-5 triangle issues to its logical limit, triggering an intellectual resolution. Pythagoras, circa 571, circa 497 BCE, was the leader and the founder of the peculiar movement whose followers were known as the Pythagoreans. The members of this school was convinced that the universe could be described in terms of whole numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., based on the 3-4-5 triangle known to the Egyptian Pythagoras came up with the mathematical theorem that bears his name, that in a right triangle, when the area of the square erected on the two smaller sides were added together, they equaled the area of the square erected on the long side. The side opposite of the right angle, hypotenuse, is important to none. It's important to note that the Greeks originally stated this theorem in terms of geometric objects instead of numbers. Why was this theorem such an important insight? Because it shows the development of some of the important techniques. The technique of abstract based on the ignoring physical considerations, which are seen as merely incidental, whether it was a rope, a piece of wood, or any other physical object, was irrelevant. It was all about the property of straight lines connecting at angles, nothing more. These lines are simply mental constructs, and the only entity necessary to the solution of the problem, the process of the abstract, is about getting rid of all the non-essential elements and considering only what is fundamental. Listen to the technique of generalization, which is about developing general principles with broad applications rather than rules with specific use. The theorem development by Pythagoras was 3 was true not only for, sorry, the theorem developed by Pythagoras was true not only for 3, 4, 5 triangle, but it was the fundamental, it was furthermore the theorem showed that triangles is a right triangles, that triangles is a right triangle if and only the remaining two sides, the right angle lay where the two shorter sides met. 3, the art of deductive reasoning. This is about having a set of initial general statements or premises and reaching conclusions by working out its logical implications. Mathematics in the sense of demonstrative, deductive arguments by combining deductive reasoning and generalization, mathematics was no longer seen as a static set of rules, but rather as a dynamic system capable of complex development. We owe Pythagoras, or maybe his followers, these important Greek innovations in the field of mathematics. The beauty and the harmony that the Pythagoreans found in mathematics was so powerful that Greek science in general was eventually contaminated with strong mathematic bias. In other words, the Greeks came to believe that the deductive reasoning, which was incredibly successful in the mathematics, was also the only acceptable way of obtaining knowledge in every other discipline. Observations was undervalued. Deductions was made king, and Greek scientists' knowledge was led up a blind alley, and it virtually even the branch and other exact scientists. This overestimatation of the mathematics can be seen in the quotes from Galen. Whereas time causes grief and other emotions to alter and cease. When has the more passage of time ever persuaded anyone that that he has enough of twice two or four or all ratios of circle are equal? Sorry, are equal, and made him change his mind about such beliefs and giving them Galilean on the doctrines of Hippocrates and Plato. 47, 43. The first mathematic crisis, the square root of 2. After the Pythagorean theorems was established, the following questions was put forth. If we had a square with each side a unit in length, and we also had a second square with double the area of the first square, how would the side of the second square compare to the side of the first square? This is the origins of the questions regarding the square root of 2. We know today that the square root of 2 is a rational number, which means that it cannot be expressed by any simple fraction. However, the Greeks were not aware of this, so they kept trying to solve the riddle and come up with a valid answer. Try as they might, the Pythagoreans could not solve the puzzle, and they finally faced up to the reality that no ratio of two whole numbers could express the value of a square root of 2. The secret of the irrational numbers was carefully kept by the Pythagoreans. The reason for this is that the secret created a sort of crisis in the very roots of Pythagorean beliefs. This is an interesting account. Its historical accuracy is not certain. About one member of the Pythagorean circle who apparently divulged the secret to someone outside the brotherhood. The traitor was thrown into a deep water and drowned. The episode is sometimes referred as the first martyr or of silence. However, we could also think about this person as one of the many murders of superstition, since it was the scientific aspect of irrational numbers that was the root cause of the homicide, but rather its religious ex- extrapolations, which that were seen to, sorry, but rather its religious extrapolations that were seen as threats to the foundation of the Pythagorean mysticism. The critical irrational numbers encourage the creation of clever methods of approximations for the value of the square root 2. Once this, one of the best examples of this is the method described in the following charts. Here's this chart, the method approximation of the value of the square root of 2 used by Pythagoreans. Ancient Historian Encyclopedia, the Ancient UTU, published by Christian Bialetti. Christian, okay, that's something God call that. See, I'm talking about. Okay, that's something. Set up 2 columns in the number field. Okay, this is basis frenzy. Each pair is okay. So I'm not going to read that. I'm just going to let you guys take a look at that. You guys can see it for yourself. You know, here it is. You guys can look at it. Okay, good. You guys got a good look at it. Let me roll up to the next one. After many unsuccessful attempts to finding the value of the square root of 2, the Greeks had no choice but to accept the arithmetic could not be the base of mathematics. They had to work somewhere else, so that they looked into geometry. The Elucid system, Elucid, circa 325 circa 265 BCE, was an ancient Greek mathematics who lived in Alexandria. He was familiar with all the Greek mathematics. Work had had preceded him, so he decided origin, to organize all the knowledge in a single coherent work. This work was this work has come down to us known as the Elements. And the second best-selling book of all time, surpassed only by the Bible. So that's okay. So that breaks goes down. Okay. The element is remembered mostly for its geometry. The opening of the book, one begins with different definitions on basic geometry. One, a point is that which has no point part. Two, a line is breadthless length. The extremities of the lines are points. A straight line is a line which lies evenly with the points on itself. As five, a surface is that which has length and breadth only. Six, the extremities of the surface are lines. Elusive definition 1 to 6. There is nothing original to elucid in the context of the elements. He was just a clear, sorry, you did it again. There's nothing original to the elucid in the concept of the elements. He was just a compiler. However, the order of the proposition and the overall logical structure of the work is hardly a lucid creation. It is without doubt one of the most important influential books ever written in a masterpiece of the Greek intellectual traditions. Here it is right here. The element of geometry. I gotta get this book. The Mark and Simpson's Philosophers Elusive. Markera. The Facebook. I gotta get this book. First English version of the elusive element, 1570. From the standpoint of the modern scientific knowledge, the element has some flaws. First, it relies solely on deductions, building conclusions on the assumed set of self-evident generalizations, not a trace of its induction, starting with the observation of practical facts and deriving generalizations from them. It is to be found in it. Second, it follows a logical sequence by which all theorems in it could be proved throughout the use of theorems previously proven. This logical square leads us to the set of initial assumptions that cannot be proved. These assumptions are presented by a lucid as unquestionable, which means that they are so obvious that no proof is needed. And analogically, analogically of this structure would be a chain, whereas each link is required to be connected to another link. But the only initial links are simply hanging connected nowhere. The billion problem. In addition to the value of the square root of 2, there was also another famous problem that occupied the Greeks, the duplication of the cube. The legend says that the oracle of Apollo told the people of the false that to be freed from a plague, they should build him an altar twice the size of the existing one. Theon of Simnia on the usefulness of the mathematics in Nikion. Architects had no idea on how to solve this. The altar had the shape of the cube, and the first idea might come to one's mind is to simply double all sides of the altar. But this leads to an altar 8 times as big as the original instead of 2 times bigger. The right way to approach the problem is to ask, what length should each of the sides of the new altar be if we want to make the volume twice as large as the volume of the original altar? This is about determining the value of the cube root of 2, which is also an irrational number. This issue caused geometry the same perplexity that the square root of 2 caused in arithmetics. Original altar. Okay. Donut. Okay. See the picture. You guys look at the picture. You guys got to go look at it. Okay. Hope you guys can see that. Let me go down here. Greek mathematicians, including Plato, took the issue up and worked on it for centuries, producing a large amount of admirable work. The central issue here is being able to determine the cube root of 2. The importance of mathematical rigor in Greek mathematics. The Greeks understood something that somehow elude the Egyptians, the importance of mathematical rigor in ancient Egypt. For example, equated the area of the circle to the area of the square whose sides were 8/9 of the circle diameter. From the perspective of this calculation, the value of the mathematics constant pi is 256 over 81, or just slash 81. This is a very accurate calculation, around 0.5% error, but mathematically incorrect. For the purpose of the Egyptian engineering, however, this 0.5% error was not actually important. Otherwise, the impressive monuments would have collapsed long ago. However, ignoring this 0.5% error neglects a fundamental property of the true value of pi, which is that no fraction can express it. Sorry, no fraction can express it. It is also a rational number. It is also an irrational number. Egyptians also rounded up the number such as the value of the square root of 2, which the fraction 7.5 by using rounded up value. The irrational nature of these numbers was not noticed by the Egyptian. The Greeks were obsessed with mathematical rigor. For them, rounding up was not good enough. They acknowledged the exactness of the mathematical language. By not giving up in the pursuit of the mathematical accuracy, the Greeks developed a mathematical knowledge that is, along with astronomy, perhaps the most admirable monument of their intellectual achievements. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of that chapter of part 4, and that speaks on about the Greek mathematics. Okay, so now that I've read this one, the Greek mathematics, I know I put in the other area earlier, speaking to you about the E5 Yoruba and the Labon, the Labon. Yeah, because I can't say that word very well. So you guys know that one. That's even in there as the discussion as well. So you can look back and you can see that the La Baboon Bone. You guys can look and see that article too. And that gives you even further back and it just shows you that our African culture and mathematics could possibly outdate this Greeks, Egypt, and as well as others. So let me go ahead. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. I thank you guys for being here. The next topic that I'm gonna build on, I'm gonna start working on is I'm gonna give you guys a heads up. You know what? We're gonna work on Genesis. I'm gonna surprise you with what I come out of Genesis. I think I may have said too much. I kind of don't want to give away too much, but yeah, I want to surprise you with that information. And I'm gonna work on that. And I'll see you guys soon. Maybe not tomorrow because I'm starting my work week. So I try to get all this out within my work week, but I'll be looking for those episodes, those researching those areas, and bringing the information to you as fast as quickly as possible. Once again, I thank you guys for being here. You know, there's now people starting to talk and open up and deal a little bit more about mathematics, the things in this document, in this text, in my research that you'll see in the legal biblical mathematics. That in one of my videos you'll find it there, and I'm going to start dealing with other things as well. And I'm glad that other people out there are starting to speak on the matter, even if they didn't get it from me. I often feel that if you put an energy out into something, you know, they might not get it from you, but they might get it from somebody else who might got somebody else who might have got it from you. So you just don't know how the universe works or how things happen. But I'm glad that we're discussing and talking about math because math is the way that we really need to go in order to develop and build better society. And one thing I like about math is that math is unbiased, you know, and something that you share, that you have to share to develop. You know, you can't keep it to yourself. Um, that being said, once again, I thank you guys for your time, your patience, for listening to me. I realize that I tripped up a few words, but I think I did fairly well. I got a little tired at times trying to read this information to you guys. As you expect, I'm human, you know, but again, thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. And please keep sharing this information. Like, share, subscribe. and then leave a comment in the comment section and stuff. Again, and then if you guys want to come in one day and host with me, you want to touch on some of these topics and everything, just let's have a discussion. And somebody who is more qualified to do this, because I will straight up tell you, I am not qualified to have this discussion. But however, I don't see many people in my community talking about this matter. I see that you're starting to turn, but I'm starting to depth, which you see me actually reading the articles, going into detail to describe these things to you where it doesn't go over your head. I hope not. So again, I'm glad that others are starting to have the conversation. But if anybody wants to have a conversation with me, I'm more than willing to have the conversation. Let's sit down, talk, and let's go over these issues. Once again, I thank you. I haven't thanked you enough because I'm very humble and appreciative to having you guys here. Peace, love, and you guys take care of yourself.